Mom lets Stray in, then realizes it's not a cat. She took a double take at her cat. Now, she knew why he had been making such a racket. Then, he let out a blood-curdling meow. She looked closer and realized that that was no stray cat outside her window. But what did it want? Was her cat in danger? She would have to wait to find out. Waffles is a typical spoiled and pampered house cat. He had only ever been outside the house a handful of times in his life, but he was about to give his owner the fright of a lifetime when he brought home an unexpected love interest. The domesticated house cat still has a lot in common with their wild cousins, especially when you compare them to how dogs have evolved. Most cats still have the pleasure of going wherever they wish, whenever they want, and most importantly, they see who they want to see. And herein lies the secret that many cats keep. Unlike the beloved dog, cats haven't evolved in the same way that makes them more dependent on humans for their food. They remain very much in control of their own lives, and perhaps that is what brings us the most joy, that the humble house cat chose us even though we didn't breed them to do so. It's an even bigger surprise when they befriend something unexpected. And while cats aren't generally thought to be the most social creatures, that couldn't be further from the truth. Both cats and dogs can have friends scattered all around the neighborhood. That might include your unsuspecting neighbor, another dog or cat, or even an entirely different species. This is where Waffles comes into the picture. Since Waffles retained his ancestors' abilities as an impressive predator, he is able to hunt in near darkness in the still of the night. It seems his midnight prowling around the house and spawned something that would leave his owner gobsmacked. All it took was one look out the window and a curious step towards the looming creature. His owner had no idea when it started, but they quickly noticed the orange feline pacing in front of one particular window in the living room. At first, they thought it was a vague interest in the birds outside, maybe even the squirrels. But after watching Waffles carefully, they saw it wasn't the case. However, it only took a couple more hours before the truth would come out. Walking down the stairs upon hearing the usually quiet Waffles making quite a racket, meowing incessantly, was a bit of a shock. What happened after that though proved to be a heart-stopping moment, something between fear and awe. Outside, pressed up against the windowpane, was a huge spotted cat lying quite comfortably beside Waffles. Stumbling across this rather unconventional sight, Emma never thought for a second that a little house cat would want to be anywhere near another cat. She had once brought home some shelter kittens to foster for a few days, and Waffles had thrown a complete hissy fit. But here he was having the time of his life, purring and chatting up his new friend. Soon he'd want to meet face to face. But Emma wasn't at all sure about that being a good idea. She knew that cats could be all peaches and cream one moment and then hissing and spitting the next. People didn't call it a cat fight for nothing. The last thing she wanted was for Waffles to get hurt. Then, she noticed that the cat outside wasn't a cat at all. Infinitely curious about the larger cat outside, Waffles spent all of his time following the pretty big bobcat around the house, jumping up onto window sills and quickly running to the doors to follow her wherever she went, and amazingly she always came back to him. It was a freezing cold day, with more snow forecast, when the beautiful female bobcat didn't come back to visit Waffles. He spent his days restlessly moving from one window to another, never settling down for long in order to keep up his vigil for his now departed mate. Time passed and the winter soon became spring. Waffles had been pretty miserable throughout the colder months, and Emma started to worry about his health as well as his broken heart. He was losing a lot of weight and she knew she had to act quickly to save him. The vet would know what to do, surely. Emma was gutted. The vet, having put Waffles on a mood enhancer to combat the depression, still wasn't eating what he should be. You could find him sitting on his windowsill overlooking the back garden where he had first met his wild bobcat friend. What was she going to do if the bobcat was gone for good? One day, Waffles started meowing loudly at the window and standing with his front paws against the glass. Rushing down to see if the bobcat could be back, came Emma with a camera in hand. Waffles was ecstatic and happily rubbing up against the windowpane. There outside was his lady bobcat, laying lazily in the dappled sunshine as only cats, big or small, do. But another surprise was creeping out of the bushes. Would Waffles be happy about what was about to happen next? Emma held her breath and watched. Waffles and Emma watched in amazement as 1, 2, 3 tawny kittens came bounding out of the bushes, with not a care in the world. It's as though their mother had told them that this place was safe and that Waffles was indeed a friend. On its home turf, the typical bobcat will claim at least 2 or 3 different shelters. The most frequently used is called the natal den, which is often a cave or rocky cave-like opening, but in this case, it seemed to be Waffles' backyard. Mother bobcats also have auxiliary dens spread throughout their territories, which could span anywhere between 1 to 18 square miles in size. She could move her babies from one den to another as often as she needed to keep other predators off the scent of her little ones. Emma was thrilled that the lady bobcat was back, and even more so that Waffles was so back to his old self again. He seemed more than happy to have 3 extra wild friends to watch grow up, and who could blame him? They were the cutest baby bobcats Emma had ever seen, although that mainly involved what she had watched on TV documentaries. Emma was initially concerned that Waffles would still want to get out and actually meet the big wildcat face to face, but he seemed more than content to lie pressed against the window pane and live vicariously through his wild family. Emma realized this through her domesticated house cat and his love of this potentially dangerous creature. Luckily, Emma realizes that Waffles, as much as he loves the bobcat, is not prepared to deal with such strength, so he will remain inside, and they can both watch the family grow up and thrive. If you think that friendship was strange, this next one will blow your mind. They would spend every night cuddling on the sofa and watching television. There were plenty of happy moments. However, her fur baby still had plenty of salt and vinegar in her personality. It was this very thing that had made Angela put off getting another pet. While cats, dogs, and birds were staples of home companionship, Angela's oddball side wanted something a little different. But it was after her initial research that she found the combination wasn't the safest. All it would take was a single bite and she would be rushing to the vet in tears. This is because, especially to her intended pet, cat bites are full of bacteria. A single nip can cause infections. Add on top of that, kitties have a natural instinct to hunt, and the new pet would definitely be something to chase if there was no bond formed. So, what was the animal in question? Yep. The scuttling lizards made her go "Aw," while others would sprint away screaming "Aw." Still, there were numerous situations around the world where the two species became friends. It was enough hope that she could move forward. The first interactions would be crucial. Either they would tolerate each other, or she would have spent a couple $100s for nothing. She carefully set the little dragon on the carpet. Baby immediately spotted the new guest and crouched like she was going to pounce. The end result wasn't so far away from her initial assumptions. She couldn't believe her eyes. At first, Baby crept forward, sniffing the air around the lizard. It was definitely capturing the kitty's interest. The lizard just sat there, flicking its tongue. Angela felt like her heart was going to beat out of her chest. Baby then leaned in. But instead of biting, she carefully rubbed her cheek against the newest addition to the family. The little bumps and soft spikes were lovely to brush up against. Soon, an amazing friendship formed. It was only a few weeks into the test, and she was already finding them snuggling with each other. There was no question as to what should happen next. The adorable duo needed to be photographed and shared with the world. The bearded dragon was called Charles and stole the hearts of thousands of people, especially when he wore his little sweaters. Angela snapped photo after photo, completely stunned by how much the animals did together. They even ate next to each other at the same time, without any squabbling over food or stealing snacks. The threat of mauling or kitties messing with the lizard's enclosure is real. There was also. But as she saw Baby curl around Charles and watched them fall asleep together, she counted her lucky stars. It was certainly one of the most unusual friendships she had ever seen. But the bond was there, and it was clear they would be companions for life.